Dryad Militant, Gorkling Rampager, Fleecemane Lion, along with 2 copies of Burmaz, King of Areskos. Then you've got 4 Boros Charm, 4 Selesnya Charm, and 4 Brave the Elements. About as straightforward as you can honestly be for an aggro deck.
And the quality of the creature base here cannot be disputed. I mean, those are all hits.
Yes. His creatures pound for pound are going to outclass the ones that James does play. James has the ability to swarm and cast Brave the Elements, however, as a lot of the creatures here in Dan's deck are white. So Dan is going to start things off here with a Temple of Triumph. He's going to take the top card, put it down to the bottom. And Gardner's already tipped his hand very quickly on what he is playing. It is definitely a white aggressive strategy. He's going to start by attacking for 1 here with the Boros Elite.
Now, Brave Naya definitely has the better creatures, but Black-White Humans has some things working in his favor as well here. Banisher Priest and Orzhov Charm, both excellent against Brave Naya.
And there is a Daring Skyjack before passing the turn back over to Jones. Jones will draw a card. It's a copy of Mana Confluence. One of the cards that was able to actually, kind of tie the room together here for Brave Naya. However, for Jones, it's another Temple. So top card's going to go to the bottom here. We'll see if he has a 1-drop to play, either a Militant or a Soldier, but it doesn't look like he does. He's got a Selesnya Charm, a Boros Charm, a Rampager, and just a couple of lands. So this game might end pretty fast because Gardner is a very low-to-the-ground deck.
That's the other upshot that Black-White Humans has in the matchup here is just mana base being much more stable, much more consistent.
3 mana. Let's see what the foul play is going to be. I believe that is a Banisher Priest. That's different artwork. That's what that is.
That's a very aggressive line of play here.
Yeah, haha, I got it right. Yes. It's a promo Banisher Priest.
Though I suppose James just kind of needs to put a 3rd creature into play regardless to trigger Battalion on his Skyjack and his Boros Elite.
I think there's a backup Banisher Priest in the hand as well, and if that's the case, this play ends up working out really, really well. Now, this is a Dryad Militant. I know that promo. I always do enjoy that the promos kind of just throw us for a loop for a second. Like the Banisher Priest with Cast, we both were just like, yep, okay, that's what that is.
What comic book or,
Where did that come from?
How many proof of purchases did you need to mail in?
It's not the 90s, man. Banisher Priest is going to take down that Dryad Militant, and here's going to be Attack Battalion on both creatures. Going to trigger the Boros Elite to make it a 3/3, and of course the Daring Skyjack is going to be a 3/1 flyer now. So this is going to be an attack for a healthy 8. And oddly enough, our good friend Selesnya Charm does not look to be very good in this situation.
Yeah, it trades, but again, James still has a backup 3rd creature for Battalion next turn. James also doing this without black mana. I mean, he's just on 8 planes here. He's got 4 Gauntlet Shrines, 4 Caves of Koilos, and 3 Mana Confluences for his black mana here, but hasn't needed it thus far.
Selesnya Charm is going to trade with the Banisher Priest. 6 damage is going to come across. You got Jones going down to 9. And Gardner's just going to pass the turn back yet again. You can see the Brave the Elements in hand. There's also Zathra Necromancer there. Boros Reckoner the draw here for Jones this turn. Reckoner is a pretty good one in this matchup, but it might be a little too late to the party now.
Yeah, James now has him in Brave the Elements range, certainly. Or at least is approaching there. If he has Brave here, it's an attack that puts Dan down to 1, and then he probably can't survive the follow-up.
Gardner will untap, still with only 3 planes, no black mana yet, but hasn't needed it. Draws a card, I believe it was a Fortify. Hello.
Ooh.
Is that lethal? I think so.
That's fun.
2 creatures get through. You've got 3 in the air and then 2 on the ground with the Banisher Priest. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's lethal if he sees it.
Yep.
And there you do see the M14 common. You don't see a lot of this card in Standard or Constructed at all, but +2 and +0 on the front end makes it a pretty potent card.
It's very rare to see someone win a game of Constructed without casting a rare, but James might be doing it right here.
I'd actually have to think a long time.
Just some draft leftovers.
Yeah, here we go with everybody. There's the battalions. We'll see if he does see the Fortify kill here. He does have Fortify to the front of his hand.
The thing is, he may not want to show the Fortify.
That's a real thing. That's a real thing here.
James could be in a spot where he's thinking, well, what happens if I Brave this turn? Is there anything Dan can really do the following turn to kill me? And because Dan can reasonably expect Brave the Elements, but Fortify would definitely catch me off guard.
So there's your block on the Banisher Priest, and now it's time to fortify. And so long as he chooses the +2/+0 mode, this one is over. And we will see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And with Jones at 9, that is going to do it. So James Gardner is going to win game number 1 here. White Black Humans is up a game here over Brave Naya, thanks to the rarely played M14 common.
And James did that with several black spells left over in his hand uncastable. There's Aether Necromancer and an Orzhov Charm hanging out there.
We take a look at the sideboards here. We'll take a look at Dan Jones first. I have that in front of me. You're going to find a Glare of Heresy, 2 Banishing Light, 2 Keening Apparition, 3 copies of Setessan Tactics, 3 Unflinching Courage, and 4 copies of Mizium Mortars. Well, Patrick, I could see bringing in like all of these cards.
They're all reasonable. The interesting thing is, does Dan know that there's a Black Splash? Because based on the cards that he saw, the Unflinching Courage could be very good, but if James is with a Black Splash and has access to Orzhov Charm and so forth, they get a lot worse. 4 Mizium Mortars, excellent. 3 copies of Setessan Tactics, excellent. Glare of Heresy, Banishing Light. I mean, these are all big upgrades that Dan gets to make.
Yeah, I like a lot of the cards he has access to. Of course, you do have to board some cards out. Boros Charm is an easy one to move to the bench. There are some other cards here that might be a little bit poor. So we'll see what Jones opts to do as we take a look at Gardner's sideboard here.
A Aether Necromancer, 3 Sin Collector, 2 Doomblade, 2 Fiendslayer Paladin, 2 Dark Betrayal, a Return to the Ranks, a Prophet Lost, 2 copies of Duress, and a Banishing Light. I like the 2 copies of Doomblade and the Banishing Light. I think the Aether Necromancer is fine here, though not great. But I would probably just bring in the extra removal spells.
We will see how both players do opt to sideboard here, and Game 2 will be underway shortly. But as we've talked about quite a few times, and we will be over the next couple of months, Grand Prix New Jersey has been announced. The Can't Miss Magic event of the year taking place November 14th through the 16th is where we'll be back in your home state.
Yeah, this will be exciting, and the Northeast definitely has a thriving legacy scene as well. So I expect New Jersey to be very well attended and for the level of competition to be extremely high.
Not only that, but the prizes and what you're going to get just for coming to the tournament are really, really nice. Of course, all players, these are guaranteed to be there when you do come. A free month of Star City Games Premium. Of course, the promotional Batter Skull, and then you've got the Brainstorm package, the Brainstorm sleeves, the Brainstorm deck box, and the Brainstorm playmat.
And these sleeves are essentially going to be one of a kind. I mean, limited to just this venue and this piece of art, which is really sweet for legacy enthusiasts, many of whom happen to be Brainstorm enthusiasts as well.
I do know that there are a lot of players who are planning on coming from Europe, actually. I've gotten kind of the messages on Twitter and Facebook saying, I'm going to come for the Grand Prix. I'm going to go to the Open Series in Richmond the weekend after, and then go home.
Sure.
So that should be really, really sweet. Going to see some players that we normally don't ever really get to see kind of in the States doing Battle Legacy, because as we know, Legacy does thrive in Europe.
Yeah, when Joel Larson and company were stateside for a couple months doing the Open Series rounds, that was a lot of fun. So it'll be good to see a lot of those players back in the area.
Of course, our Sealed Spectacular Friday, much like Grand Prix Orlando, will have 3 at 11, noon, and 1 p.m. and $20 entry fee. 6 Concertarch Hero boosters, brand new set that'll be out then, and then you'll get the alternate art standstill and the Brainstorm sleeves for winning these bad boys. And the alternate art standstill didn't even really know existed.
Yeah, I believe it's a IDW comic book promo. So that will be, again, given out with all entries, which is $20 and 6 packs, which is below retail. So that, the packs, the experience of gameplay, the practicing for additional seal events you want to play in, plus sleeves and the standstill is a very good deal for $20.
And of course, the sleeves here for all Grand Prix Trial winners, 8-player side event winners, 4 own any challenge event, and then top 64 of the Sunday Super Series. So that's going to be a lot of fun here at New Jersey. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll talk about more things that are going to be taking place there when we do have the time, but I know that our match is just about ready. These players are just finishing shuffling up here. So if you're in a Brainstorm, which a lot of Legacy players are, you're not going to want to miss Grand Prix New Jersey. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the giveaways there are going to be unique to that event. So they'll be very, very cool. Pretty hard to find after the event, but we will be giving out a lot of that content at the event itself.
And you and I will be there, joined by Matthias Hunt in the booth, doing coverage. Looking forward to that. Got 2 Grand Prix to call later this year.
A Legacy Grand Prix in New Jersey. I mean, I cannot wait to go back.
You never thought it would happen, did you?
No. Mom and Dad, your boy finally made it.
Without a button on his coat, but he made it.
Exhausted, looking kind of disheveled, buttoned off the coat, but your boy made it.
It's kind of strange to me that, truthfully, this is the first time that we've both had flying problems this year, and it happened on the same weekend to both of us.
Yeah.
Haven't had any flying problems at all, which I honestly feel is pretty lucky.
It's pretty lucky. I mean, we caught weather in Indianapolis earlier this year, but that wasn't the airline's fault.
Yeah, as far as delays and things go, I can't actually say I've had one all year.
An airline announcing that we're looking for pilots, that's the airline's fault.
Are you sure about that? You sure about that?
But the weather is kind of, that's outside people's control.
When you get the email from Delta later this week, are you gonna nasty reply?
No.
Arr.
That's just a waste of time.
I had to wait longer for my cookies. Arr.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where the pilots were, eating the cookies.
They just weren't around.
Could you blame them?
No, they are delicious.
They're very good cookies.
No, sending a customer service complaint email is already, you've caused yourself more hassle than what happened that caused you to send the email in the first place.
So they know that. They know that. They don't even respond.
Yeah, I know. So whatever. Rather just move on with life,
7 cards here for Dan, I believe is what he's going to be looking at. He's got 6 so far. Maybe he did take a mulligan. We didn't notice it. There's the 7th one. He's got a Mana Confluence and a Temple. You see the Temple of Triumph. And a couple copies of Boros Reckoner, I believe a Dryad Militant over there, and a Bramaz. So, he's got what he's looking for as far as mana is concerned. He needs one more, but, that's what the Scryland's for. Hopefully that'll find it. As Dan will take a look at the top card, and he's going to leave it there before passing the turn back over to James. So Gardner will take a draw here. It's a copy of Daring Skyjack. We're going to lead off with a 1-drop, and it'll be a copy of Judge's Familiar. So to the skies we will go.
Yeah, Judge's Familiar alongside Soldier of the Pantheon and Boros Elite as the 1-drops on this list.
Time to take 1 from Mana Confluence, and there is a Fleecemane Lion. 2 mana 3/3 that did help Patrick Chapin win Pro Tour Journey into Nyx a little while ago. He's a big fan of that card. Looks like Jones is as well.
Hard to go wrong with Fleecemane Lion. I mean,
all upside.
You can get outclassed in games, certainly, but it is a good deal.
Judge's Familiar into the red zone here. We'll see what the follow play is going to be. And there's a Daring Skyjack. So a good start here for Gardner. Can turn on Battalion on the 3rd turn via Mutavault if he'd like to, depending on what Jones has going on. He's going to play a Temple of Plenty here, so we'll take a look at the top card. See a Boros Charm in Dan's hand. A little surprised to see that in his deck after sideboard. He's got so many potent weapons in his sideboard. He had to cut something. I thought it would be Boros Charm.
Yeah, and I would not want to have non-interactive elements, just creatures and removal spells. I think is the best recipe. Now, Brave Naya is susceptible to flyers. There are not a lot of answers in this list.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically just Cetessan Tactics and other removal spells, but you can't block.
Well, speaking of tactics, you see Dan does move that forward in his hand. That is a card that he could cast this turn if he wanted to. He's going to start just by attacking for 3, though, with the Fleecemane Lion. So Gardner's going to take 3. He's going to go to 17. Not too much of a surprise there. Oddly enough, Judge's Familiar might actually do some work and gummy up the spells this game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dan's tight on mana. Judge's Familiar is pretty solid against Cetessan Tactics.
Yeah. Gardner does draw his card for the turn. You do see the Mana Confluence over there, so black mana will not be a problem this game.
I like this matchup for James. I mean,
I do too, actually.
Just better mana plus Orzhov Charm plus Doomblade seems like a really solid recipe against Brave Naya.
Brave the Element's pretty useful as well.
Yeah.
You do see an Orzhov Charm in hand. There's also a Zapther Necromancer there. So he's drawn some of the black cards and the mana to cast them. Now he's just got to decide how he wants to move forward here. That's the big question.
Got a lot of options, too. I mean, a lot of power in his hand, too. Necromancer and Banishing Priest and Orzhov Charm. A lot of his best cards.
Going to take 1 to deploy the Necromancer, a card that we haven't really seen a lot of over its, life and standard.
Yeah, you have to be, of course, building a human-centric deck with black in it. Not the easiest thing, but it's powerful enough that it has been an enabler for these decks. I mean, people go out of their way to play with these cards because Zapther Necromancer is so good.
Boros Charm's going to fire it off at the end of turn here for Dan. Looks like he's just going to fire that off for 4 points of damage. So not going to sacrifice the Judge's Familiar Will Gardner as he goes down to 12 and Jones is down to 13. So we'll see what Jones can put together on his 4th turn here as he draws another copy of Fleecemane Lion.
But now the Cetessan Tactics is pretty awkward for Dan. I mean, everything is. He's just not efficient enough right now.
And it certainly doesn't help that Mana Confluence is consistently dealing him some points of damage here.
Yeah, and you know, he's losing in the air. His team really doesn't provide much help. He can take a deep breath, cast Boros Reckoner this turn, and hope that Boros Reckoner plus a Test and Tactics can really wipe up James's board.
Yeah, that's quite the combo.
But you're risking a removal spell here. Plus, you're taking a lot of damage this turn.
There is the Reckoner, and that's, of course, going to resolve. So both players look like they want to make sure the life totals are correct here. But Jones, after deploying that Reckoner, doesn't really look like he has much else to do. I don't even think he has a land to play in this situation. So we'll see if he's probably considering an attack here at Fleece Main Line. That's exactly what he is going to do. Trying to weigh if he's supposed to hold that back or get in there with it. I think if I'm Gardner, I like blocking with the Necromancer. I don't really have interest in taking damage because we're kind of in a damage racing situation here.
Yeah, and you have to respect the fact that, you know, Dan's left in Boros Charm.
Yeah, since you know that now.
Yeah.
And this deck does have Gore Clan Rampager oftentimes, and there are 4 in this particular deck list. So we'll see if taking that damage instead of chump blocking on that particular turn comes back to hurt Gardner.
Yeah, that's a big hit to take, you know. Especially when it doesn't change your clock of this turn. There's a really strong argument for just blocking.
A Plains. And now a damage. So Gardner's going to go down to 8. A little bit lower. Here's a Banisher Priest. That is quite good. Give me that Reckoner, he says. And so now you get to attack here for 3, 4, 5, 6. 2-turn clock. Pretty healthy stuff there. So Jones is going to go down to 6 with only a Fleece Main Line in play. And there's actually a Boros Elite as well to finish up. So a really good turn there for James.
Yeah, having a chump blocker here is awesome for James.
We can't forget, too, he does have an Orzhov Charm in his hand as well to maybe clear the road one more time. I think the other card in his hand is another copy of Banisher Priest. Maybe. Might be a Goblet Shrine hanging out over there. But either way, we know that there's at least one removal spell. And for Dan, you know that turn, he was trying to set up Tactics plus Boros Reckoner to really clear things up, but wasn't able to put the 1-2 punch together.
Yeah, now Dan has the option of either using Test and Tactics now, not having enough to block with on the way back, or trying to do it mid-combat, but losing to Orzhov Charm.
Yeah, you're hopeful that works. It does seem favorable for Gardner's deck. He's just a little lower to the ground, takes less damage.
Just more efficient. I mean, if you're looking at, you know, creatures versus creatures or spells versus spells, it's easy to say that Dan has a big advantage here, but it's the lands that really separates these two decks in the matchup.
See Jones again looking into Fleece Main Line, Sacred Foundry over there, the Tactics that we've mentioned a couple of times. There's also a Ramaz and a Boros Reckoner, but he was just a little late to the party this game.
Yeah, his hand had just too many 3-drops in it.
It's crazy to say that he was late to the party, given that we haven't played very many turns in the game, but, you know, these decks don't really afford each other to play very long games, so you have to get your creatures down pretty quickly and hopefully not to take too much damage to do so.
And now is Dan forced to play a Sacred Foundry untapped here?
Yeah, that would be a disaster.
I mean, he is just dead on board the way things are right now. There's 4 points in the air coming through uncontested, and James is going to pick up another 2 points through his other attackers.
Yeah,
so
that doesn't even include the Mutavault either.
Yeah.
You throw an Orzhov Charm in the mix, and it looks like it's pretty easy for Gardner. And playing a Tactics, or excuse me, playing a Sacred Foundry untapped just makes it even easier.
And it tips the hand to James that something's going on.
Absolutely. So Jones is going to try to represent some strength here. By playing, I believe he's going to play the Sacred Foundry in some fashion, but if you play it tapped, your opponent's working with pretty good information. If you play it untapped, you do take some damage, but he knows that, yeah, I can't get out of this situation no matter how many times he looks at his hand. And you see Gardner kind of spread it across, see exactly what was there. It's just nothing that Dan Jones can do.
Exactly. Just, there's no way that Test and Tactics does enough in that spot, and Dan's trying to go through the different iterations of the turn and see if there's anything that can happen there, but there's nothing to be done. And even if there was a line in play, it's unlikely that it could be the Orzhov Charm left over in James's hand.
James Gardner wins this match over Dan Jones. White Black Humans takes down Brave Naya 2 Pat Cox concoctions. That's a